After arriving at the ranch and surviving the initial scrutiny from both the rancher Elias and the other workers, Clara begins to understand that her survival and acceptance will depend on more than just her quiet resilience. The ranch is a demanding environment requiring physical labor, keen observation, and patience. Clara quickly realizes that to prove herself, she must not only perform the tasks expected of her, but also demonstrate initiative, intelligence, and empathy, qualities that set her apart from those who are judged merely by appearances. The early days are challenging. Clara wakes before dawn, tending to the animals, helping mend fences, and learning the intricate routines of ranch life. She discovers that the horses are sensitive to both touch and mood. One misstep can spook them, creating chaos. Clara's patience and attentiveness allow her to handle the animals calmly, gaining their trust. When she notices a sick calf overlooked by the overworked hands of the ranch, she takes the initiative to nurse it back to health using knowledge she has absorbed from old books and careful observation. Her actions are quiet but effective, and slowly, the ranch staff begin to take notice. Meanwhile, Elias observes Clara from a distance, still skeptical but increasingly intrigued. He had initially dismissed her as ordinary, expecting only compliance and basic labor. Yet Clara's competence becomes impossible to ignore. She not only completes assigned tasks with diligence, but also identifies problems before they escalate. For instance, she notices a leak in the irrigation system that could threaten the crops and devises a solution using limited tools, saving the ranch from potential loss. These subtle demonstrations of foresight, intelligence, and practicality begin to change Elias's perception of her. He starts to see that there is depth, creativity, and resilience beneath her plain exterior. Clara's interactions with the other workers also highlight her character. While some remain dismissive, others gradually recognize her reliability and begin to respect her. She does not seek approval through words, but earns it through action, kindness, and integrity. She helps the youngest or least experienced workers, quietly teaching them techniques she has learned. When a laborer struggles with a stubborn horse or a broken fence, Clara steps in without condescension, her gentle approach earning trust. These interactions reinforce the theme of inner strength over outward appearance, as Clara's value is revealed through deeds rather than looks. There are moments of personal reflection as well. Clara is aware of how others perceive her, the whispers, the judging eyes, the assumption that she is plain and incapable. She struggles with frustration, but channels it into determination rather than resentment. The narrative emphasizes her resilience and moral compass, showing that proving herself is not just about labor, but about integrity, compassion, and quiet courage. Her growth is gradual, measured not in dramatic gestures, but in the accumulation of small victories that demonstrate competence and reliability. By the end of Part 3, Clara has begun to establish herself as an indispensable presence on the ranch. Elias, while still guarded, can no longer ignore her capabilities. He watches her not only perform tasks efficiently, but also maintain a sense of calm, empathy, and practicality that few possess. The workers, too, start to acknowledge her contributions, recognizing that she is more than her appearance or her initial role. Clara has proven that her value lies in her character, intelligence, and heart, traits that will become central to her relationship with Elias as the story progresses. Part 3 solidifies the turning point where Clara shifts from being an overlooked outsider to someone whose worth is evident through action and integrity. It lays the foundation for deeper connections, emotional growth, and the eventual recognition of her unique qualities by Elias. The story moves beyond mere survival toward influence, respect, and the first glimmers of affection and trust that will define her journey on the ranch. As Clara settles into her role on the ranch, the daily routines and responsibilities allow for small, quiet observations of Elias, the rancher. Though their initial interactions were distant and formal, these moments begin to reveal nuances of character, both in Elias and Clara. Unlike grand gestures or dramatic confrontations, Part 4 focuses on subtle, meaningful exchanges, brief encounters that slowly build understanding, trust, and the beginnings of emotional intimacy between them. These small moments serve as the first threads of a deeper bond, showing that connection can grow even in the harshest environments. One day, Clara notices a young horse struggling with training. Elias, who prides himself on his control over the ranch and animals, seems frustrated and on the verge of anger. Clara, understanding the horse's nervousness, steps in quietly to soothe the animal. Elias observes from a distance, intrigued by her calm and patient demeanor. It is not her physical appearance or her status that catches his attention, but the intelligence, empathy, and emotional awareness she demonstrates. Elias begins to see Clara as someone who notices things he might overlook, someone whose insights are valuable even in small, seemingly mundane matters. Similarly, Clara observes Elias in moments he does not expect. She sees the way he meticulously checks the fences, the care with which he handles the livestock, and the private, vulnerable moments when he is alone. These observations humanize him to her. He is no longer just the stoic, wealthy rancher, but a man with burdens, responsibilities, and quiet strengths. Clara begins to feel an unspoken empathy for him, recognizing that his authority and composure are maintained at a personal cost. These small insights gradually bridge the gap between employer and worker, creating a foundation of mutual respect. During shared work, such as mending fences, tending to animals, or managing crops, Clara and Elias begin exchanging brief words and subtle gestures. Perhaps he offers a rare compliment on her skill, or quietly acknowledges her help with a nod. These moments, though small, are significant because they contrast sharply with the indifference or judgment Clara experienced in her hometown. Each small acknowledgement fosters a sense of belonging, and Clara begins to allow herself a quiet hope that she may be seen for who she truly is. The story also includes small incidental acts that reveal character. Clara might bring water to Elias during a long, hot day, or notice his fatigue and quietly take on a task he intended to do himself. Elias, while initially reluctant to accept assistance, begins to recognize her thoughtfulness. He experiences the subtle realization that Clara's presence is easing his burdens, not through obligation, but through genuine care. These interactions are understated yet emotionally charged, illustrating the theme that deep bonds are often forged in the ordinary, everyday moments rather than in dramatic declarations. Additionally, Clara begins to observe the dynamics among the ranch workers, understanding how loyalty, trust, and teamwork operate in this new environment. She navigates social interactions with care, offering quiet help where needed, without seeking recognition. Elias notices her ability to maintain harmony and earn respect without arrogance, further distinguishing her from others who rely on charm, looks, or status. Through these small acts, Clara's influence on the ranch and on Elias grows steadily and organically. By the end of Part 4, the reader sees a clear shift. Elias is no longer indifferent or dismissive. He is curious, intrigued, and quietly appreciative of Clara's presence. Their connection is subtle, based on observation, shared work, and mutual recognition of character and integrity. Clara, in turn, begins to feel a tentative warmth toward Elias, recognizing his hidden vulnerabilities and beginning to trust him with her own quiet strengths. These small moments of connection set the stage for deeper emotional intimacy and foreshadow the bond that will grow into love. Part 4 emphasizes the slow, organic development of trust and understanding. It is in these understated, meaningful exchanges that Clara's value begins to transcend appearances, and Elias begins to recognize that she is not ordinary. She is remarkable in ways that are revealed only to those willing to truly see her. After arriving at the ranch and surviving the initial scrutiny from both the rancher Elias and the other workers, Clara begins to understand that her survival and acceptance will depend on more than just her quiet resilience. The ranch is a demanding environment, requiring physical labor, keen observation, and patience. Clara quickly realizes that to prove herself, she must not only perform the tasks expected of her, but also demonstrate initiative, intelligence, and empathy, qualities that set her apart from those who are judged merely by appearances. The early days are challenging. Clara wakes before dawn, tending to the animals, helping mend fences, and learning the intricate routines of ranch life. She discovers that the horses are sensitive to both touch and mood. One misstep can spook them, creating chaos. Clara's patience and attentiveness allow her to handle the animals calmly, gaining their trust. When she notices a sick calf overlooked by the overworked hands of the ranch, she takes the initiative to nurse it back to health using knowledge she has absorbed from old books and careful observation. Her actions are quiet but effective, and slowly the ranch staff begin to take notice. Meanwhile, Elias observes Clara from a distance, still skeptical but increasingly intrigued. He had initially dismissed her as ordinary, expecting only compliance and basic labor. Yet Clara's competence becomes impossible to ignore. She not only completes assigned tasks with diligence, but also identifies problems before they escalate. For instance, she notices a leak in the irrigation system that could threaten the crops and devises a solution using limited tools, saving the ranch from potential loss. These subtle demonstrations of foresight, intelligence, and practicality begin to change Elias's perception of her. He starts to see that there is depth, creativity, and resilience beneath her plain exterior. Clara's interactions with the other workers also highlight her character. While some remain dismissive, others gradually recognize her reliability and begin to respect her. She does not seek approval through words, but earns it through action, kindness, and integrity. She helps the youngest or least experienced workers, quietly teaching them techniques she has learned. When a laborer struggles with a stubborn horse or a broken fence, Clara steps in without condescension, her gentle approach earning trust. These interactions reinforce the theme of inner strength over outward appearance, as Clara's value is revealed through deeds rather than looks. There are moments of personal reflection as well. Clara is aware of how others perceive her, the whispers, the judging eyes, the assumption that she is plain and incapable. She struggles with frustration but channels it into determination rather than resentment. The narrative emphasizes her resilience and moral compass, showing that proving herself is not just about labor, but about integrity, compassion, and quiet courage. Her growth is gradual, measured not in dramatic gestures, but in the accumulation of small victories that demonstrate competence and reliability. By the end of Part 3, Clara has begun to establish herself as an indispensable presence on the ranch. Elias, while still guarded, can no longer ignore her capabilities. He watches her not only perform tasks efficiently, but also maintain a sense of calm, empathy, and practicality that few possess. The workers, too, start to acknowledge her contributions, recognizing that she is more than her appearance or her initial role. Clara has proven that her value lies in her character, intelligence, and heart, traits that will become central to her relationship with Elias. As the story progresses, Part 3 solidifies the turning point where Clara shifts from being an overlooked outsider to someone whose worth is evident through action and integrity. It lays the foundation for deeper connections, emotional growth, and the eventual recognition of her unique qualities by Elias. The story moves beyond mere survival toward influence, respect, and the first glimmers of affection and trust that will define her journey on the ranch. You said, write the story outline inline in 10-part the story title, She Was Sold for Being Ordinary, until the rancher discovered she was everything he'd ever needed. ChatGPT said, here's a detailed 10-part story outline for your title. Title, She Was Sold for Being Ordinary, until the rancher discovered she was everything he'd ever needed. Part 1, The Sale. The story opens in a small, dusty town where a young woman named Clara is considered too plain and ordinary by her own family. Struggle. As Clara and Elias's quiet understanding deepens, the story introduces a tangible challenge that tests both their skills and their growing bond. A threat to the ranch. This external conflict serves multiple purposes. It reveals Clara's courage and ingenuity, forces Elias to reassess his assumptions about her, and strengthens the emerging emotional connection between them. The threat could take many forms: a rival landowner attempting to claim part of the ranch, a sudden and destructive storm, a dangerous animal causing havoc, or even financial troubles. But its essence lies in creating a scenario that requires immediate action, resilience, and collaboration. The threat begins subtly. Perhaps Elias notices signs of trouble: a missing fence post, strange tracks near the livestock, or rumors of a competitor encroaching on his land. Clara, observant as ever, notices details that others overlook: weakened structures, distressed animals, or irregularities in the patterns of the ranch that could signal danger. Her acute attention to detail becomes invaluable as she quietly alerts Elias or takes preventative measures. These early actions showcase her intelligence, foresight, and willingness to step beyond her assigned duties to protect the place she has begun to call home. When the threat escalates, Clara is forced to act decisively. If it's a storm, she works tirelessly to secure the animals and repair damage, often putting herself in physically demanding and potentially dangerous situations. If it's human interference, she helps devise strategies to safeguard property or resources. Her resourcefulness becomes apparent. She can think on her feet, improvise solutions, and motivate others to act without appearing domineering. These actions illustrate her inner strength, revealing that she is far from the ordinary girl her family dismissed. Elias observes Clara during this crisis and is struck by her competence and courage. Whereas before he saw her as helpful but unremarkable, her response to real danger challenges his preconceived notions. He begins to recognize that Clara possesses qualities he has rarely encountered: perseverance, bravery, and a calm decisiveness under pressure. He is impressed not only by her actions, but by her attitude. She does not seek praise or recognition, but focuses entirely on doing what must be done for the good of the ranch. For Elias, this is a turning point in his perception. Clara moves from being just another worker to someone whose intellect, compassion, and strength are indispensable. This conflict also allows Clara and Elias to collaborate closely. They coordinate efforts, share responsibilities, and communicate in ways that are both practical and subtly intimate. These moments of partnership forged under pressure create trust and mutual respect. Elias begins to see Clara not only as capable, but as someone whose presence makes the ranch and his life better. Clara, meanwhile, observes the layers of Elias's character: his leadership, his sense of responsibility, and the vulnerability he rarely displays. These shared experiences deepen their emotional connection in a way that simple conversation or proximity cannot achieve. The resolution of the threat reinforces Clara's growing importance. Whether the ranch survives the storm, fends off a rival, or recovers from damage, it is Clara's initiative, courage, and intelligence that play a crucial role. The other workers begin to look at her with newfound respect, and Elias's admiration moves beyond professional appreciation toward personal recognition. He starts to see her as an equal, someone who could stand by his side in life as well as in labor. By the end of Part 5, the narrative has shifted. Clara is no longer merely a quiet observer or an overlooked worker. She is a critical part of the ranch's survival and an emerging figure of strength and character. The external conflict has allowed her true qualities to shine, laying the foundation for deeper trust and, eventually, emotional intimacy with Elias. This part underscores the theme that true worth is revealed through action and character, not appearance, and sets the stage for the story's growing romantic and personal developments. Following the challenges that tested her courage and resourcefulness, Clara begins to reveal facets of herself that were hidden beneath her quiet exterior. Up until now, much of her value has been demonstrated through her diligence, empathy, and intelligence. But Part 6 shifts the focus to the deeper, often unseen skills and aspects of her past. These revelations not only surprise Elias and the ranch workers, but also highlight Clara's multifaceted character, reinforcing the story's central theme that true worth extends far beyond superficial appearances. Clara's talents begin to emerge in moments of necessity. Perhaps she is exceptionally skilled at herbal medicine, a knowledge passed down from her mother, or gleaned from books she secretly studied. When an injured animal or a sick worker requires care, she demonstrates knowledge that astonishes those around her. Her remedies are effective, precise, and innovative, reflecting not just practical skill, but also a thoughtful, analytical mind. Elias, who has only seen her perform routine tasks until now, is struck by the breadth of her knowledge and the confidence with which she applies it. This begins to shift his perception of Clara from competent worker to remarkable individual with hidden depth. Other skills come to light as well. Clara may demonstrate a keen understanding of finance or logistics, noticing inefficiencies in ranch operations or suggesting subtle improvements. She could have literacy and numeracy far beyond what the townsfolk assumed of her, allowing her to help with bookkeeping, inventory, or strategic planning. These talents reveal that Clara is not just capable of physical labor, but possesses an intellect and resourcefulness that make her indispensable. Each revelation challenges the assumptions of both the ranch workers and Elias, showing that Clara's perceived ordinariness is entirely misleading. Part 6 also explores Clara's past in more detail, providing context for her resilience and independence. The story may reveal hardships she endured growing up, poverty, neglect, or familial pressure that forced her to develop resourcefulness and self-reliance. These experiences shaped her into a capable, compassionate, and determined woman, but they also left her cautious and hesitant to trust others. By gradually unveiling her history, the narrative deepens the reader's understanding of her character and underscores why she possesses such inner strength. It also allows the reader to appreciate that her value is rooted not in appearance but in lived experience, knowledge, and moral integrity. Elias's reaction to these revelations is significant. Initially cautious and detached, he begins to feel genuine admiration and curiosity. He realizes that Clara is not only competent but extraordinary in ways he never imagined. Each hidden skill she reveals challenges his previous assumptions and stirs feelings of respect, intrigue, and growing affection. The story emphasizes that his recognition of Clara is based on substance rather than surface-level qualities. He starts to see her as a partner in thought, decision-making, and life itself, rather than merely a worker or companion. Clara's interactions with the ranch workers are also transformed. Once dismissed or underestimated, she gains their respect and trust as her abilities become undeniable. The workers see her not as ordinary, but as someone whose intelligence, skill, and dedication elevate the ranch's operations. Clara's quiet confidence, combined with her practical contributions, inspires loyalty and admiration, reinforcing the narrative's theme of true worth revealed through actions, knowledge, and character. By the end of Part 6, the story has achieved a turning point. Clara has begun to fully step into her own power and identity, demonstrating that her seeming ordinariness was merely a facade imposed by societal judgment. Elias' perception of her shifts dramatically. He now sees her as exceptional, and his emotional connection deepens. The stage is set for further developments in their relationship, as the trust, admiration, and mutual respect established here pave the way for romantic and emotional intimacy. Part 6 emphasizes that what is unseen often holds the greatest value. Clara's hidden talents and history reveal the richness of her character, advancing the story's central message. True worth is defined by depth, intelligence, and integrity, not by appearance or societal perception. After Clara has revealed her hidden talents and proved her worth on the ranch, the story shifts focus to the subtle emotional developments between her and Elias. Part 7 explores the slow, organic growth of affection, moving beyond respect and admiration into genuine emotional intimacy. Unlike sudden romantic gestures, this part emphasizes small, meaningful interactions, shared work, quiet conversations, mutual reliance, and moments of vulnerability that gradually allow both characters to see each other in a new light. This stage is crucial for deepening their connection and preparing the narrative for the eventual romantic arc. The development of their bond begins with moments of collaboration and shared responsibility. After facing crises such as storms or animal mishaps, Elias starts to value Clara not just for her abilities, but also for her judgment and calm presence under pressure. They coordinate tasks, solve problems together, and rely on one another in ways that build trust. For example, while managing livestock during a particularly challenging day, Clara anticipates Elias's next move and acts in sync with him without being told. Elias notices her intuition and attention to detail, realizing that she understands not just the mechanics of the ranch, but his approach and mindset as well. These shared experiences foster a sense of partnership that goes beyond employer and worker, hinting at a deeper emotional bond forming between them. Alongside practical collaboration, Clara and Elias begin sharing moments of personal connection. In quiet evenings after the day's labor, they may talk while repairing fences or tending the barn, exchanging stories about their past, fears, and small joys. Clara might recount anecdotes from her childhood, revealing the hardships and lessons that shaped her resilience. Elias, in turn, shares glimpses of his own past, moments of loneliness, responsibilities he has shouldered, or dreams he quietly holds. These exchanges allow them to see each other's humanity and vulnerability, building empathy and mutual understanding. It is in these intimate conversations that the seeds of affection begin to take root, nurtured by shared respect and trust. Small, everyday gestures also play a significant role in their growing connection. Clara's thoughtfulness, offering water, noticing when Elias is tired, or quietly stepping in to assist without being asked, does not go unnoticed. Elias, often stoic and reserved, begins to reciprocate subtly, whether through protective actions, approving nods, or sharing tasks to ease her workload. These gestures, though understated, convey care and consideration, establishing an unspoken emotional dialogue between them. Their bond grows not through grand declarations, but through consistent attention, support, and recognition of one another's worth. Part 7 also explores Clara's internal experience. She begins to feel an emerging warmth toward Elias, recognizing his fairness, integrity, and hidden vulnerability. For the first time in her life, she feels truly seen, not judged for appearance or status, but valued for her mind, skills, and heart. This realization brings both excitement and hesitation. She is cautious about allowing herself to hope, knowing the past has been filled with disappointment. Her growing affection is tempered by patience and awareness, making it more nuanced and realistic. Elias's emotions develop alongside hers. He is increasingly drawn to Clara's intelligence, competence, and moral character. Her resilience and quiet courage command admiration, while her subtle kindness and perceptiveness inspire genuine warmth. He begins to experience feelings he has not allowed himself to feel for years: trust, admiration, and a protective instinct that hints at love. This growing affection is gradual and layered, rooted in shared experiences, respect, and understanding, rather than superficial attraction. By the end of Part 7, the story has firmly established the emotional foundation for Clara and Elias's relationship. They are no longer just employer and worker, nor merely allies in the management of the ranch. They are companions whose admiration, trust, and subtle affection for one another have begun to blossom into deeper love. These small, meaningful interactions pave the way for the challenges, conflicts, and eventual romantic culmination in the subsequent parts of the story. After the gradual growth of trust and affection between Clara and Elias, the story introduces emotional and relational tension in Part 8. While they have developed mutual respect and subtle intimacy, this part explores the vulnerabilities and obstacles that test their connection. The conflict of the heart serves to heighten dramatic tension, deepen character development, and challenge the strength of their emerging bond. It is not a physical threat like the ranch crisis in Part 5, but an emotional and psychological challenge that forces both characters to confront their fears, insecurities, and desires. The conflict often arises from external pressures or internal doubts. Externally, Clara's past or her family could reappear, creating uncertainty or temptation. Perhaps a former suitor or a family member attempts to reclaim her, reminding her of the transactional life she fled. Elias may encounter pressures from the town, business rivals, or even his own staff, questioning why he treats Clara differently from other workers. Internally, Clara grapples with feelings of inadequacy and fear that her worth may be temporary or conditional. She worries that Elias sees her for her skills or usefulness, rather than her true self. Elias, meanwhile, struggles with vulnerability. He has been alone for years and fears opening his heart may lead to disappointment or betrayal. The story emphasizes moments of hesitation and misunderstanding. For instance, Clara might misinterpret Elias's distance as disinterest or judgment, while Elias may misread Clara's caution as rejection or detachment. Their communication falters, and both are left grappling with conflicting emotions. These small misunderstandings reveal the depth of their feelings, highlighting that emotional connections are as fragile and complex as physical or professional ones. The tension is amplified because both are intelligent, perceptive individuals who rarely act impulsively. They overanalyze and guard their hearts, making the conflict feel authentic and relatable. Amid this emotional turbulence, Clara demonstrates her inner strength and independence. She refuses to be passive or defined by fear. Instead of withdrawing completely, she navigates the delicate balance of asserting her value, maintaining dignity, and remaining emotionally open. She continues to contribute meaningfully to the ranch, showing that her worth is intrinsic rather than dependent on Elias's recognition alone. This reinforces her character's resilience and moral integrity while simultaneously highlighting the stakes of the emotional conflict. Losing Elias's trust or failing to express her feelings could have lasting consequences. Elias' response to the conflict mirrors Clara's struggle. He must confront his vulnerability and acknowledge feelings he has long suppressed. His pride and fear of emotional exposure cause hesitation, but he is gradually forced to recognize the depth of his attachment. Small, telling actions, pausing to consider Clara's advice, protecting her during a difficult task, or reflecting privately on her value, reveal his internal struggle and the sincerity of his feelings. This emotional tension creates a compelling dynamic where both characters must navigate fear, trust, and desire simultaneously. The conflict of the heart also allows secondary characters to play a role. Ranch workers or townsfolk may offer advice, create misunderstandings, or serve as catalysts for reflection. Their reactions underscore societal assumptions about worth, beauty, and relationships, reinforcing the story's theme that true connection depends on recognizing character over appearances. Clara and Elias's navigation of these pressures strengthens the narrative arc, preparing the characters for emotional resolution. By the end of Part 8, the emotional tension has reached a pivotal point. Clara and Elias are forced to confront their insecurities, fears, and the external pressures that threaten their growing bond. The story establishes that resolving these conflicts will require honesty, courage, and vulnerability. This part deepens the reader's understanding of their emotional stakes, sets the stage for revelation and reconciliation, and underscores the idea that love and trust are earned through integrity, courage, and self-awareness rather than circumstance or superficiality. After the emotional tension and uncertainties explored in Part 8, Part 9 marks a turning point in the story where clarity, understanding, and heartfelt recognition bring resolution to the growing relationship between Clara and Elias. This is the emotional climax of the narrative, the moment where years of misunderstanding, societal judgment, and personal fears are overcome, and both characters fully acknowledge the depth of their feelings for each other. The revelation is not sudden or superficial. It is earned through shared trials, quiet observation, and the recognition of each other's true value. The revelation often begins with a moment of crisis or vulnerability that forces honesty. Perhaps an unexpected challenge arises on the ranch, a sudden storm, an accident with livestock, or a rival attempting to seize land that requires both Clara and Elias to act decisively and collaboratively. During this intense situation, Clara's courage, skill, and quick thinking shine more brightly than ever. Elias witnesses firsthand her unwavering calm, intelligence, and compassion, realizing that these are not traits of a mere worker or companion, but of someone who embodies strength, wisdom, and loyalty. Her actions crystallize for him the fact that Clara is indispensable not just for the ranch, but for his life and heart. Simultaneously, Clara recognizes Elias's unwavering support, leadership, and vulnerability. She sees that he has learned to trust her judgment and rely on her abilities without reservation. His actions, protective, thoughtful, and consistently supportive, signal to Clara that he values her for her entire being, not just her labor or usefulness. In this pivotal moment, Clara's lingering insecurities dissolve. She understands that Elias's admiration and affection are genuine and rooted in recognition of her intrinsic worth. This mutual acknowledgement is the core of the revelation, illustrating that love and respect are deeply intertwined with understanding and acceptance. The narrative emphasizes the subtle emotional cues and intimate realizations that constitute this revelation. A fleeting glance, a shared word, or a small act of trust between them may carry more weight than grand declarations. For instance, Elias might hand Clara a tool or guide her hands during a difficult task, signaling both reliance and partnership. Clara's thoughtful observation of his expressions or quiet gestures conveys her growing certainty that Elias sees her completely. Through these understated yet powerful interactions, the story highlights that recognition and love often emerge in the accumulation of meaningful moments rather than dramatic, overt actions. The revelation also addresses external validation and societal perception. Throughout the story, Clara has been judged as ordinary by her family, townsfolk, and even initially by Elias. Now that superficial judgment is entirely overturned. Elias openly acknowledges Clara's worth, not as a concession, but as a profound recognition of her uniqueness. His declaration, whether spoken or expressed through committed action, affirms that she is extraordinary in character, intellect, and heart. This public and personal acknowledgement reinforces the story's central theme. True value lies in inner strength, kindness, and resilience, not in outward beauty or societal expectations. Additionally, secondary characters respond to this revelation. Workers and neighbors who had once doubted Clara begin to recognize her contributions, reflecting her transformation from overlooked ordinary girl to respected, admired figure. The revelation deepens the reader's emotional satisfaction, as all narrative threads, Clara's resilience, Elias's growth, and the overturning of societal prejudice, converge. By the end of Part 9, the story reaches an emotional apex. Clara and Elias's mutual recognition of each other's worth solidifies their bond. Elias understands that Clara is everything he has ever needed, not because of superficial charm, but because of her courage, intelligence, empathy, and unwavering moral compass. Clara, in turn, feels truly seen, valued, and loved. This revelation sets the stage for the final part of the story, where their partnership is not only confirmed emotionally, but also celebrated in their shared life on the ranch. Part 9 encapsulates the narrative's core message, that love, respect, and lasting connection are earned through character, action, and authenticity, culminating in the full acknowledgement of Clara's extraordinary value. Part 10 serves as the story's resolution, providing emotional closure and depicting the lasting impact of Clara's journey from being considered ordinary to becoming truly seen, valued, and loved. This final section highlights not only the personal growth and triumph of the main characters, but also the way their union transforms the ranch, the community, and their own sense of purpose and belonging. It is a culmination of all the themes established throughout the story: resilience, inner worth, love grounded in respect, and the triumph of character over superficial judgment. After the revelations and emotional reconciliations of the previous parts, Clara and Elias finally enter a period of stability and shared understanding. Their relationship has matured from tentative admiration and subtle affection to a deep mutual bond built on trust, respect, and emotional intimacy. Elias has openly acknowledged Clara as the person who completes him, not because of outward beauty or status, but because of her intelligence, compassion, and unwavering courage. Clara, in turn, feels secure and affirmed, knowing that she is appreciated for who she truly is, and not merely for what she can do. This emotional equilibrium sets the foundation for a new life together, both personally and professionally. The ranch itself becomes a symbol of their partnership and shared growth. Tasks that once felt burdensome are now approached collaboratively, with Clara's talents and insight fully integrated into the operations of the land. Perhaps she manages livestock, finances, or the well-being of the farmhands with the same wisdom and diligence that initially impressed Elias. The physical flourishing of the ranch mirrors their emotional and relational flourishing. Their mutual respect and cooperation enhance productivity, harmony, and morale among the workers. Clara's presence transforms the ranch from a place of mere labor into a home filled with warmth, efficiency, and care. Their relationship also brings broader recognition and acceptance. Townsfolk and workers who once underestimated Clara begin to see her true worth. She is no longer dismissed as plain or ordinary, but celebrated for her capabilities, kindness, and integrity. The story emphasizes that this transformation is not about vanity or societal approval. Rather, it underscores the narrative's central theme, that inner qualities, courage, intelligence, empathy, and resilience ultimately define one's value. The community's acknowledgement is a reflection of the respect and admiration that Clara has earned through action, not appearance. Emotionally, Clara and Elias establish routines and moments that reinforce their connection. They share quiet evenings, laughter over daily tasks, and support during challenges, cultivating a sense of partnership that extends beyond romance into true companionship. These small, deliberate acts of care and attention solidify their bond, making it resilient to future hardships. Clara, once forced into a life dictated by others, now exercises agency and influence, shaping not only her own destiny, but also the life of the ranch and those who live and work there. The story concludes with a sense of hope and continuity. Clara and Elias's life together is depicted as not merely a happy ending, but as the beginning of a flourishing partnership, one rooted in shared values, mutual respect and love built on understanding and trust. Clara's journey from undervalued ordinary girl to essential partner illustrates the narrative's ultimate message, that true worth lies in character, courage, and the ability to care, and that those who see and recognize such qualities are rewarded with authentic connection and fulfillment. Part 10 emphasizes the enduring power of personal growth, emotional honesty, and mutual respect. It resolves the story's emotional arcs while celebrating Clara's transformation and Elias's openness to love. The conclusion leaves readers with a sense of satisfaction, underscoring that resilience, authenticity, and integrity create the foundation for meaningful, lasting relationships. Clara and Elias' new beginning is both a literal and symbolic rebirth, a life enriched by love, partnership, and recognition of the extraordinary in what once seemed ordinary.